Is the sound working? There we go.
Early one morning, the sun was shining. I was laying in bed, wondering if she changed at all, if her hair was still red. Folks, they said our lives together sure was gonna be rough. Never did like Mama's homemade dress, Papa's bankbook wasn't big enough. So I was standing on the side of the road, rain falling on my shoes. Headed after the oldies, cars Lord knows I paid some dues, getting through. Tangled up in blue. She was married when we first met, soon to be divorced. Helped her out of a jam, I guess, but he used a little too much force. We drove that car as far as we could, abandoning it out west. Rode up on the dark side night, both agreeing it was best. She turned around and looked at me as I was walking away. Heard her say from my shoulder, we'll meet again someday on the avenue. Tangled up in blue. I had a job in the great North Woods, working as a cook for a spud. But I never did like it all that much, and one day the axe was found. So drifted down to New Orleans, was lucky there to be employed. Working for a while on a fishing boat right outside Delacroix. Took a while I was alone, the past was close behind. I seen a lot of women, but she never escaped my mind. And it just grew. Tangled up in blue. I stopped in, oh no, was it I? She was working in a topless place, and I stopped in for a beer. Just kept looking at the side of my face, and the spotlight so clear. Later on, when the crowd then died, I was just about to do the same. She's standing there, in the back of my chair, said, honey, don't I know your name? I let something underneath my breath, she started the lines on my face. Must admit, felt a little uneasy when she bent down to tie the laces of my shoes. Tangled up in blue. She lit a burner on the stove and offered me a pipe. Thought she'd never say hello, she said, it looked like the silent type. She opened up a book of poems and handed it to me. Written by an Italian poet from the 13th century. And every one of those words rang true and glowed like burning coal. Her went off from every page like it was written in my soul. From me to you, tangled up in blue. Now I live with them on Donahue Street, basement down the stairs. There was music in the cafes at night, and there was no shame in the air. He started into dealing with slaves, and something inside of him died. She had to sell everything she owned and froze up inside. When I finally the bottom fell out, I became withdrawn. The only thing I knew how to do was to keep on keeping on like bird that flew. Tangled up in blue. So now I'm going back again. I got to get to her somehow. All the people I used to know, they're an illusion to me now. Some are mathematicians, some are carpenters' wives. I don't know how it all got started, don't know what they do with their lives. Me, I'm still on the road, headed for another joint. We always did feel the same, we just saw it from a different point of view. Tangled up in blue. That's track 1, Tangled Up in Blue. 1 down. Okay, so welcome everybody, whoever's watching this. Let's see who's watching this. Oh, 6 people. All right, so it's a very special episode of this little live stream that I do. Usually what I do is I sit here and I think of songs for an hour, or have my family write comments and make me play songs. But today is a musical challenge that I've been thinking about for a really long time, which is playing the album Blood on the Tracks from beginning to end. What is Blood on the Tracks? Blood on the Tracks is a Bob Dylan album. It was released in, I think, January 1975. It came at a really weird time in Bob Dylan's music career because he had done these albums like Before the Flood, which is a live album before that, and before that was Planet Waves, and before that was Dylan. And it was a string of kind of, in my mind, kind of dull albums. I mean, they're okay. Before Planet Waves has Forever Young on it, so I can't say anything. But a lot of these didn't excite people a lot because Bob Dylan is this enigmatic figure. He started out as a brilliant folk musician, and then found out that people wanted him to be a folk musician, and so wanted to be none of them. So Blood on the Tracks was an interesting return to form. It's an almost entirely acoustic album, at least in its first release. It was re-recorded, 5 of the tracks were re-recorded into electric with band. And the whole album is sometimes referred to as Bob Dylan's breakup album, Bob Dylan's divorce album. According to Bob Dylan, none of the songs are autobiographical, which you can't trust because Bob Dylan is a famous liar, especially when it comes to how he writes the songs. Anybody who's seen that Netflix documentary where he makes up a whole story about Sharon Stone can talk about that. But so Blood on the Tracks is my favorite album. It's an amazing amalgamation of his storytelling, his songwriting. And so my hope in this hour is to convince you why it's a good album and why it's kind of some of the best songwriting that's ever existed. And, it's originally an album I liked because it had my favorite song on it. We'll get to my favorite song, but we're not there yet. We were just at track 1. Track 1 is called Tangled Up in Blue. It's a story song. Bob Dylan is, after all, a song and dance man. That's what he tells everybody that he is. And so he's telling a story that brings back some themes that get revisited in the album, usually about love not working out, and then always something about the passage of time, fatalism, these two things, the fatalistic flow of time interrupting everything. Tangled up in blue being sort of a metaphor for being tangled up in our circumstances. That's one interpretation of that minute. And so, now I'm going to stop talking and go and play track 2. That made a transition to a more intimate setting. That's better. Oh, hello there. I didn't even see you. Okay. So. Sat together in the park as the evening sky grew dark. She looked at him and he felt a spark tingle to his bones. 'Twas then he felt alone. Wished that he'd gone straight and watched them for a simple twist of fate. Walked along by the old canal, a little confused, I remember well, then stopped into a strange motel with the neon burning bright. She felt the heat of the night saxophone someplace far off played while they were walking on by the arcade. The light burst through a beat up shade where he was waking up. She tossed a coin into the cup. The blind man at the gate and forgot about a triple twist of fate. When he woke up, the room was bare. He didn't see her anywhere. He told himself he didn't care. Pushed the window open wide. Felt that emptiness inside, to which he just could not relate, and pondered that simple twist of fate. Hold on. Wow. Let's forget this. Here's the ticking of the clock. Walks along with a parrot that time. Hunts her down by the waterfront docks where the sailors all come in. Maybe she'll pick him out again. How long must he wait? One more time for a simple twist of fate. People tell me that it's a sin to know and feel too much within. I still believe she was my twin, but I lost the ring. She was born in the spring, and I was born too late. Blame it on a simple twist of fate. That was track 2, Simple Twist of Fate. Now I'm going to transition back. So, getting back to the story of this album. That is a song called Simple Twist of Fate, another example of storytelling, of playing with the dimensions of time, and not kind of knowing in what order everything happens, but also a sense of dose of fatalism, right? Simple Twist of Fate. And again, this is a theme that keeps coming back in the album. Successful romance, but also romance that doesn't work out. Romance that just wasn't meant to be. Which kind of goes with the fact that in 1974, at this point, Dylan was about to get divorced to Sarah Dylan, his wife. And so Jacob Dylan, their son, has a famous quote where he says, this is an album of my parents talking, basically. So he sees it through the lens of everything his dad was going through at the time. What Bob Dylan says is that these are not autobiographical, but they are influenced by the short stories of Anton Chekhov. So, whatever you want. So, when Bob Dylan first came in the studio for this album, he actually... Oh, hold on. I gotta get into it. He had one acoustic guitar that he played, and it was in one tuning, and it was in not standard tuning, but open E tuning, which I'm going to be playing open D. So I'll give you a preview in a second.
So there are essentially two versions of this album. The original one was recorded in the New York studio. This is the first album. He went back on Columbia Records for a while too. So that's how people always said it was a return to form or whatever. So this. That's the tuning that we play these songs in. Okay. So Dylan came into the studio, played everything in this tuning. So the original album was the New York album before it got re-recorded. It was everything was in this tuning, so everything kind of glided together. And in fact, one person who was witnessing in recording this album said that they were like movements to a symphony. So we should think about sometimes these songs not as being so separate tracks like it was later recorded, but as one kind of stream of consciousness. So what I'm going to play is the original version of track 3, which is called You're a Big Girl Now, before it was re-recorded in Minneapolis. Our conversation, short and sweet, it nearly swept me off of my feet. Now I'm back in the rain. Oh, when you are on dry land. Oh, and you made it there somehow. You're a big girl now. Bird on the horizon, sit on a fence, sing a song for me at its own expense, and I'm just like that. Oh, singing just for you. Oh, and I hope that you can hear me singing through these tears. Love is so simple, to quote a phrase. You've known it all the time, but I'm learning it these days. So I know where I can find you. Oh, in somebody's room. Oh, it's a price I have to pay. You're a big girl. Time is a jet plane, it moves so fast. Ah, but what a shame that all these things can't last. Oh, I can change, I swear. Oh, see what you can do. Oh, I can make it through. You can make it too. Changing the weather can be extreme, but it ain't like changing horses in midstream. I'm going out of my mind. Oh, with a pain that stops in sun. Oh, like a cork screwed up my heart. Ever since we've been apart. So that was track number 3. You're a big girl now. So I think that track, hopefully you heard the guitar. I think that track gives you a sense for why people call this the breakup album, why they call this the most intimate of Bob Dylan's albums, because this is a songwriter who's known for esoteric lyrics, you know, utopian hermit monks and gray flannel dwarves and flesh-colored Christ that glow in the dark. You know, these are the kinds of lyrics, or one of the trying to think desolation lyrics. Things that are esoteric, things that don't make sense. But here, that song just feels like a song of somebody who's in pain. And I love that song because I've played it many times when I'm hurting and heartbroken about something. Like a cork screwed up my heart. It's good stuff. So that's a perfect transition into next track, which I'll have to look up the lyrics for. So that's it. This is an interesting song, I think, on the album. It is probably the most raw, the most unfiltered, the most kind of like, whoa, what's going on? Bob Dylan. So, it's track number 4, Idiot Wind. Someone's got it in for me. They're planning stories in the press. Whoever it is, I wish they cut it out. But when they will, I can only guess. They say I shot a man named Green and took his wife to Italy. She inherited $1 million bucks. When she tied it came to me. I can't help it if I'm lucky. People see me all the time, and they just can't remember how to act. Their minds are full of big ideas, images, and distorted facts. Even you yesterday had to ask me where it was at. I couldn't believe after all these years you didn't know me any better than that. Sweet lady. Idiot wind. Blowing through every time you move your mouth. Blowing down the back roads headed south. Idiot wind, blowing every time you move your teeth.
You're an idiot, babe. It's a wonder that you still know how to breathe. I ran into the fortune teller. She said there'd be some thunder at the well. I haven't tasted peace and quiet for so long it feels like living hell. There's a lone soldier on the hill watching falling raindrops fall. You'd never know it to look at him, but in the final shot he won the war after losing every battle. I woke up on the roadside, daydreaming about the way things sometimes are. Visions of your chestnut mare shot through my head and are making me see stars. You hurt the ones that I love best, you covered up the truth with lies. One day you'll be in the ditch, flies buzzing around your eyes, blood on your saddle. Idiot wind blowing through the flowers on your tomb, blowing through the curtains in your room. Idiot wind blowing every time you move your teeth. You're an idiot, babe. It's a wonder that you still know how to breathe. It was gravity that pulled us in, a destiny which broke us apart. You tamed the lion in my cage, but it just wasn't enough to change my heart. Now everything's a little upside down. As a matter of fact, the wheels have stopped. What's good is bad, what's bad is good. You'll find out when you reach the top. You're on the bottom. I noticed at the ceremony that you left your bags behind. The driver came in after you left. You gave him all to me and then he resigned. The priest wore black on the seventh day, marched around while the building burned. You didn't trust me for a minute, babe. I'd never known the spring to turn so quickly into autumn. Idiot wind blowing every time you move your jaw. From the Grand Coulee Dam to the Mardi Gras. Idiot wind blowing every time you move your teeth. You're an idiot, babe. It's a wonder that you still know how to breathe. I've been double-crossed too much. Times I think I've almost lost my mind. Lady killers blow dice on me behind my back while imitators steal me blind. You'll never know the hurt I suffered, nor the pain I rise above. And I'll never know the same about you, your holiness or your kind of love, and it makes me feel sorry. letters that we wrote. Idiot wind blowing through the dust upon our shelves. You're idiots, babe. It's wonder we can even feed ourselves. I've seen love go by my door. It's never been this close before, or ever been so easy or so slow. I've been shooting in the dark too long. Something's not right, it's wrong. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. Dragging clouds so high above, well, I've only known careless love. It always has hit me from below, but this time round it's more correct. Right on target, so direct. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. Out on the hillside, blooming crazy. Crickets talking back and forth and rhyme. Blue river running slow and lazy. I could stay with you forever and never realize the time. Well, situations have ended sad, relationships have all been bad. Mine have been like Blaze and Lambo, but there's no way I can compare all those scenes. It's a fact. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. I've seen love go by my door. It's never been this close before, never been so easy or so slow. I've been shooting in the dark too long. Something's not right, it's wrong. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. You're gonna make me wonder what I'm doing. Stand far behind without you. You're gonna make me wonder what I'm saying. Well, you're gonna make me give myself a good talking to. I look for you in old Honolulu, San Francisco, Rashidu. Now you're gonna have to leave me, now I know. But I see you in the sky above, in the tall grass and the wonderful. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. You're gonna make me lonesome when you go. That's the end of side one. That was track
Number 4, Idiot Wind. And track number 5, You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go. So, we're about halfway through. This makes sense. All right. Okay, so 6. Despite the fact that my mic isn't working as good as it works. Okay. How's everybody doing? Sign off in the comments if you're still there. Still listening to me blab about Bob Dylan. Well, I don't know what's up with the mic. I tried to test it. It might be because I've turned it down a little bit. It seems like it was way too hot in the other live streams. Now it seems like it's not working Alright, so now we've done side 1 of the album. This is where you flip the record over. This is a song, this would be track number 6, Meet Me in the Morning. This is originally from the New York sessions. Meet me in the morning, 56 and Wabasham. Meet me in the morning, 56 and Wabasham. Honey, we could be in Kansas by the time the snow begins to thaw. Be the darkest hour, it's right before the dawn. Say the darkest hour is right before the dawn. Honey, you wouldn't know about me. Everything's been dark since you've been gone. Little rooster crowing, there must be something on his mind. Little rooster crowing, there must be something on his mind. Ain't I just like that rooster? Honey, you treat me so unkind. I struggled through barbed wire, but felt the hail fall from above. Struggled through barbed wire and felt the hail fall from above. Hell, you know I even run the hound dogs. Honey, you know I've earned your love. Look at that sun, sinking like a ship. Look at that sun, sinking like a ship. Ain't that just like my heart, babe, when you kiss my lips? 56 in Wabasha. Meet me in the morning, 56 in Wabasha. Honey, we could be in Kansas by the time the snow begins to thaw. Alright. That was the first track of side 2. It's called Meet Me in the Morning. Kind of a weird blues interlude. Okay, I have to prepare for this next song. Oh man. This one, the song I didn't used to like it. It's grown on me. It's a 9-minute long heist song. I'm not going to play all 9 minutes. It's called Lily, Rosemary, and the Jack of Hearts. This is another song that was re-recorded in the Minneapolis section. Also, the story behind that was that apparently Bob Dylan showed the album to his brother in Minneapolis, and his brother in Minneapolis said, this is a downer, and I don't like it. It's too stark, and all this different stuff. All the stuff that I like about it is what his brother didn't like about it. So he decided, even though a test pressing went out of the original album in all its acoustic, stark, depressing glory, Bob Dylan decided to find a bunch of musicians in Minneapolis and re-record a bunch of the tracks. And this is one of those that he re-recorded. He also re-recorded Idiot Wind, Tangled Up in Blue, You're a Big Girl Now, and the next track after this one, If You See Her, Say Hello. So just a little background about that. Okay, so this is a great song. I do like it, but it's long. I want to see which verses I'm going to cut. I'm going to have to look up lyrics. Maybe I'll just do all the ones I remember. Maybe some of you will be able to tell that I'm skipping lyrics. Lily, Rosemary, and the Jack of Hearts. There, it's okay. By the way, that version of You're Gonna Make Me Lonesome When You Go is a kind of sexy piano ballad that was inspired by my friend Micah, who I think is on the string, because he played, maybe it wasn't a sexy piano ballad, but it was definitely a version of that song. It was great. And it's only kind of partly modeled after that, because he played it on the piano, so that song was mostly played. Okay, this one's a long story, so strap in. So just imagine we're out west. We're not a depressing Bob Dylan album anymore. We're in an old west. What's that? Is that a train in the background? Oh wow. Sounds like the boys are at it again. I reckon they're about to rob the bank. How are they going to do it? That's what we're going to find out. The festival was over and the boys were all planning for fall. Cabaret was quiet except for the drilling in the wall. The curfew had been lifted and the gambling wheel shut down. Anybody with any sense had already left town. He was standing in the doorway, looking like the Jack of Hearts. Here's what happened next. He moved across the mirrored room, set it up for everyone, he said. Then everyone commenced to do what they were doing before he turned their heads. Then he walked up to a stranger and he asked him with a grin, "Would you kindly tell me, friend, what time the show begins?" And he moved to the corner, faced down like the Jack of Hearts. Backstage, the girls were playing 5-card stud by the stairs. Lily had two queens, she was hoping for a third to match her pair. Outside the streets were filling up, the window was open wide. A gentle breeze was blowing, you could feel it from inside. Lily called another bed and drew up the Jack of Hearts. Enter next character. We've been introduced to the Jack of Hearts and the gang. I always found it hard to follow the story of this song, so I'm just going to explain it. The Jack of Hearts is the leader of a gang. They're drilling through the wall to get to a bank safe. We've already been introduced to Lily, who works at the club. They just drew up the Jack of Hearts. Now we're introduced to our next character. Big Jim was no one's fool. He owned the town's only diamond mine. He made his usual entrance, looking so dandy and so fine. With his bodyguards and silver cane and every hair in place, he took whatever he wanted to and laid it on the waste. But the bodyguards and silver cane were no much for the Jack of Hearts. Foreshadowing. Rosemary combed her hair and took a carriage in town. She slipped in through the side door, looking like a queen without a crown. She fluttered her false eyelashes and whispered in his ear, "Sorry, darling, that I'm late," but he didn't seem to hear. He was staring into space over at the Jack of Hearts. I know I've seen that face somewhere, Big Jim was thinking to himself. Maybe down in Mexico, or maybe a picture up on somebody's shelf. But then the crowd began to stamp their feet and the house lights did dim. And in the darkness of the room, well, there was only Jim and Kim, staring at the butterfly who just drew the Jack of Hearts. Okay, now we're back to Lily. Lily was a princess. She was fair-skinned and precious as a child. She did whatever she wanted to. She had that certain flash every time she smiled. She'd come away from a broken home and lots of strange affairs, with men in every walk of life, and took her everywhere. But she never met anyone quite like the Jack of Hearts. Rosemary started drinking hard and seeing her reflection in the knife. She was tired of the attention, tired of playing the role of Big Jim's wife. She had done a lot of bad things, even once tried suicide. Was looking to do just one good deed before she died. She was gazing to the future, riding on the Jack of Hearts. Now, the backstage manager was pacing all around by his chair. There's something funny going on, he said. I can just feel it in the air. He went to get the hanging judge, but the hanging judge was drunk. And the leading actor hurried by in the costume of the monk. But there's no actor anywhere better than the Jack of Hearts. No one knew the circumstance, but they say that it happened pretty quick. The door to Lily's dressing room burst open and a cold revolver clicked. And Big Jim was standing there, you couldn't say surprised. Rosemary right beside him, steady in her eyes. She was with Big Jim, but she was leaning to the Jack of Hearts. Almost done. We're almost done. Two doors down, the boys finally made it through the wall. See, they got to the bank safe. Cleaned out the bank safe and said they could get off with quite a haul. Jeez. And in the darkness by the riverbed, they walked on the ground. But they couldn't for one more member who had business back in town. They couldn't go no further without the Jack of Hearts. The next day was hanging day. The sky was overcast and black. Big Jim lay covered up, killed by a penknife in the back. And Rosemary on the gallows, she didn't even blink. The hanging judge was sober and he hadn't had a drink. The only person on the scene missing was the Jack of Hearts. The Cabaret was empty now, a sign said closed for repair. Lily had already taken all of the dye out of her hair. She was thinking about her father, who she very rarely saw, thinking about Rosemary and thinking about the law, but most of all she was thinking about the Jack of Hearts. That is a long song. Oh my gosh. So that's track number 6, Lily, Rosemary, and the Jack of Hearts. Comes in the most random part of the album. I don't know why it's on there. We talked about how there's themes in this album about failed love. This is a story mostly written about people that have names of Jack of Hearts. You have the Jack of Hearts, you have Rosemary, who's the queen, you have Big Jim, who's the king, and you have Lily, the cabaret dancer, who is the main character. And of course, it's very, we don't know what happened. We don't know who killed Big Jim. We know Rosemary's getting hung for it, and we know that the Jack of Hearts was at the dressing room when it happened. But there's just many things we don't know. Whew, okay, I need a second after that. But I had to do it. It's on the album. And that was the challenge. Just play everything that's on the album. Okay. Let's do the next song. So here's another one that is one of the few that I think isn't as good on the final album. It was better on the New York sessions. It's this one. If you see her, say hello. If you see her, say hello. She might be in Tangier. She left here last early spring. Is living there, I hear. Say for me that I'm alright, though new things come and go. She might think that I've forgotten her. Don't tell her it isn't so. We had a falling out like lovers often will. Think of how she left that night, it still brings me a chill. Though our separation, well, it pierced me to the heart. She still lives inside of me, we've never been apart. If you get close to her, kiss her for the always has respected her for doing what she did. Oh, I know it had to be that way. It was written in the cards. Still the bitter taste still lingers on. It all came down so hard. I see a lot of people as I make the rounds. Hear her name both here and there as I go from town to town. And I've never gotten used to it, I just learned to turn it off. Either I'm too sensitive, or else I'm getting soft. Sundown, yellow moon, I replay past. I know every scene by heart, and it all went by so fast. If she's coming back this way, well, I'm not that hard to find. Tell her she can let me in if she's got the time. I think that might be one of my favorites on the album. Except it isn't, because this next one is. That was track number 7, if you see her, say hello. Another song about loss and love. Okay, so in my opinion, the whole album kind of culminates in this song. This is my favorite song of all time, actually. It's my favorite song that's ever been written. My personal connection to this song, I'm not going to talk much longer because it's already over an hour that I've been talking about this. No, who wants to hear somebody talk about pop at an hour? There are so many podcasts you can do that. There's so many podcasts, just about every single Dylan song, which I didn't know. But. So the short thing I will say about this song is that I first heard it on the track Hard Rain, or no, on the album Hard Rain, which is a live album from the Rolling Thunder tour. It's because I borrowed my brother-in-law Clark's CD collection, and that was one of the first Bob Dylan CDs that I ever listened to. I listened to it over and over again. And Shelter from the Storm was on it. But then I heard it on the album. I think it takes on a whole different meaning. It is a song about salvation. Really, that's what I think it's about. It's a song about maybe salvation personified, a person being your salvation, and losing it, and then having to come to terms with what happens when the one person you depended on is gone. And I connected with this song a lot when I was 17 because I felt that I had lost my faith, my religious faith. And so this was a useful song for capturing the mood I was in, which is that something very important to me had gone away. And I missed it, but I didn't know how to get it back. So the song is called Shelter from the Storm. Was in another lifetime, one of toil and blood. Blackness was a virtue and the road was full of mud. Came from the wilderness, a creature void of form. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. If I pass this way again, you can rest assured. Always do my best for her, on that I give my word. In a world of steel-eyed death and men who are fighting to keep warm. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Not a word was spoke between us, there's no risk involved. Everything up to that point had been left unresolved. Try imagining a place where it's always safe and warm. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. I was burned out from exhaustion, buried in the hay. Was poisoned in the bushes and thrown out on the trail. Hunted like a crocodile, ravaged in the pond. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Suddenly I turned around and she was standing there. Silver bracelets on her wrists and flowers in her hair. She walked up to me so gracefully and she took my crown of thorns. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Now there's a wall between us, something that's been lost. Took too much for granted and I got my signals crossed. Just to think that it all began on the non-eventful morn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Now I've heard newborn babies wailing like the morning dove. An old man with broken teeth, stranded without love. Do I understand your question, man? Is it hopeless and forlorn? Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. And the deputy walks on hard nails and the preacher rides in the home. Nothing really matters much, it's doom alone that counts. And the one-eyed undertaker will leave blues if you go home. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. In a little hilltop village, I gambled for my clothes, bargained for salvation, and she gave me lethal dose. Offered up my innocence, and I got to pay the storm. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. I'm living in a foreign country, but I'm bound across the line. Beauty walks a razor's edge, someday I'll make it mine. If I could only turn back the clock to when God and her were born. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. My opinion, the best song ever written. And it's really a good culmination of the album that we've explored so far. We've gone through witty storytelling about bank heists, about meeting somebody at a topless place where you stop in for a beer, whatever that means. Or kind of stories about fate and the ever-encroaching marching of time. Determining everything. If I had to just give an interpretation, this album is kind of a breakup album. It's an album about finding love. There's these songs about finding love, scattered throughout. And it's about what happens when it's taken away. And that's why Shelter from the Storm, I feel like, encompasses the whole album. Because it encompasses the whole experience. It encompasses the beginning where happened on an uneventful morn. There's sparks, there's life, there's freedom, and this new thing that you found. And then it gets taken away, and you think metaphorically about what it's like to be back there. Like one day be back with that person that I love that meant so much to me, or they're gone forever. And not just people, but maybe situations or even circumstances or things that made you feel comfortable, that made you feel whole, that saved you in some way, and now they're gone. And how do you reckon with them gone? It really is like losing your faith, I think. It's like losing religious faith. It's like losing your framework for reality. So Blood on the Tracks, the album persists for me because it is good songwriting, it's good storytelling, but it encompasses everything of what it feels like to be in love. All the happiness and then all the disappointment. Inevitably, when something happens, doesn't mean it gets taken away from you, but something happens. Now there's a wall between us. Something that gets lost. And it's just really beautiful that this album was able to capture all of that, the life cycle of a romance. That's my interpretation, and so that may have been autobiographical in some respects, but or maybe not at all, because after all, he's just a song and dance man. Okay, let's finish this album. Wow, I got 5 viewers the whole time. That's pretty impressive. This is my buddy Justin's favorite Bob Dylan song. It's this last one. last track is called Buckets of Rain. Again, it's open D. This closes the album, and so it also closes this ridiculous live stream that I tried to do where I messed up all the notes. But I tried my best, and that's what matters. So, thank you guys for listening. Buckets of rain, buckets of tears, got on buckets coming down my ears. I got buckets of rain. You got all right, honey, baby, I can say I've been mean, and I like it all. Secret people disappear like smoke. Friends on the rise, and friends with you want me, honey, baby, I'll be. Like your smile, fingertips, like the way that you move your hands, like the cool way you carry me. Everything about you is bringing me misery. Little red wagon, little red bike. I ain't no monkey, but I know what I like. I like the way love's so slow. Taking you with me, honey, baby, when I go. Life is sad, life is a buzz, and all you can do is do what you must, do what you must do. Do it for you, honey, baby, can't you tell?